Welcome, Dental XP members, and Happy New Year. It's January 2015, and I'm Dr. Stephen Goldstein, coming to you from Scottsdale, Arizona, in the USA. Today's topic is using Adobe Lightroom in a dental digital workflow. Previously on Dental XP, I created movies on this topic, which were overviews on my digital workflow using Adobe Lightroom. This series will show you in greater detail exactly how I do this, allowing you to follow along and actually set up and use the software. This is not the definitive user manual, and it won't apply to everybody's unique workflow. However, it's a starting point to get you up and running. I do teach full-day workshops on this topic and other topics as well, and I'll give you more information on that at the end of the video. The nice thing about the workshop is you'll bring a laptop with you and actually set it up, having Lightroom ready to go as soon as you return to your office. If you have specific questions regarding your personal workflow, please post the questions online and I'll answer them. If you can, email me too so that I know your question has been posted and I can get to it quickly. Here's my website information. On the website, I have a section for doctors which contains many PDF papers on various topics. Please feel free to visit and download anything that interests you. Please check back periodically since I'm constantly updating the content. The password is 6th molar. I put this slide in again to review the concept of digital asset management one more time before we get started. What it really means is the organization and workflow of digital images, which are called assets. And it involves importing your images to a computer, organizing them so they're easily found, and outputting them to various mediums in order to share them with a particular audience. I'd also like to repeat this caution. If your workflow is working for you, don't change it. You have it down, you understand it, great. If you want to try a new workflow, do it with sample files and test folders. Don't experiment with your original data ever. Back up all your data before upgrading or using any new software, and I always recommend download the trial version of a particular software that you're interested in and evaluate it before purchasing it. Also research online user comments and opinions just to see if there are compatibility issues or any other problems that other people are experiencing. Here's the link to download Adobe Lightroom, and I'm using version 5.7. Now let's review how Lightroom works. Lightroom is cataloging software that stores data for each of your images. And this data can include the location of the image, changes made to the image such as cropping, exposure modifications, etc. And it also contains metadata. Metadata is information about the image, and that could be keywords, star ratings, color ratings, etc. What I want you to get out of this is Lightroom never modifies the original image. It is non-destructive software. It creates an instruction set that are applied to an image with the original always remaining untouched. If you lost your Lightroom catalog, you do not lose your original images. You would only use the modifications to the images that you made, but not the image itself. When we set up Lightroom, you will decide where your images reside. It can be on your computer's hard drive or an external drive. It's up to you. If you look at the slide, you'll see I created a folder called Dental Folder Master, and that's going to go in the filing cabinet. That's where I chose my images to reside. Lightroom is going to create a catalog with the data about each image. However, it never moves the images. It knows where to access them, and it's going to access them in the Dental Folder Master. However, it never moves the images. When you import images into Lightroom, it's a bit misleading because you're really not moving the images. They are going to stay where you put them, and what Lightroom is going to do is create a link between the image and the data of the image in the catalog. When you're ready to share images outside of Lightroom, an email, let's say, a presentation, or you want to post something to Facebook, what Lightroom will do is apply the metadata changes that you made, let's say cropping or exposure, to a copy of the image, and it will export it to your chosen location. So you can choose to export it to an email, let's say, or an iPad, or social media, etc. But it's up to you to decide where it's going to go. Another example, if you wanted to mail me a large RAW file, Lightroom will make a small emailable JPEG for you to send, and the original file remains untouched as a RAW file. If you want to download images again to an iPad, you can set up Lightroom to downsize a copy of the image to fit the iPad dimensions exactly. And in another video, I'm going to show you how to do that. And again, it leaves the original image untouched. There are 4 things that you're going to have to decide before starting with Lightroom. Number 1, where do you want to work on your images? And what I mean by that is, do you work on your images in your office at work? Or do you like to work on them at home? Or perhaps you have a laptop computer and you might want to work on them on the road. So number 1, decide on where do you want to work on your images. The next thing is, where are you going to store your images and your Lightroom catalog? That's the next thing you have to decide. The third thing you have to decide is, how are you going to find and get all of your current images into a single location? And this will probably be the most difficult task for many of you because they may be scattered on different hard drives, or they may be in dental software such as Dentrix, etc. But you're going to have to find all your images at some point and get them into a single location. The fourth thing you have to decide is, where are you going to back up to? So you need to set up external hard drives, either home work or both, and decide where you're going to back up your images to. Once you figure out these 4 items, then you'll be pretty much organized and you'll be able to get into the workflow. But really think about where you're going to work on your images, where you're going to store them, how you're going to find your older images, and then where you're going to back up to. This slide, which looks intimidating, and it's really not, is my dental digital workflow. So let me take you through this briefly. I'm going to shoot images. I'm going to take the compact flash card out of the camera. I'm going to place it into a compact flash card reader, and I'm going to download the images to an external hard drive. So if you look at the orange drive, that is where I store all my dental images. I don't store them on any computer because there's a finite size hard drive associated with a computer, of course, and at some point you're going to fill it up. So what I've chosen to do is I store all my images on a mobile drive. And another reason is, in the previous slide I said, where do you want to work on your images? Well, my desired location is home, work, and on the road. So I work on my images while I'm at work, and then I want to be able to work on them at home, and I also want to be able to work on them when I'm traveling. So I store all my images and my Lightroom catalog on the external hard drive, and that is a LaCie mobile hard drive, and I've been using them for years, and they're great. And so I take that with me whenever I travel, and that's where all my images are stored. So when I download my images, they're going to that mobile hard drive. Now, if you look to the right of the screen, you'll see there's another external drive. Every day at lunchtime, my hard drive is backed up. The images are in the Lightroom folder and catalog are backed up to that external drive. So that happens at 1 o'clock. So I've downloaded the images to the work computer, but again, they're downloaded really to the external mobile hard drive. And then in Lightroom, I'm going to delete, sort keyword images, and then I'm going to place them in specific patient folders. And then from there, of course, I can email the images, I can place them on an iPad, I can make presentations, I can print them, I can upload them to a website, I can upload them to social media such as Facebook if I want to. But what I want you to get out of this is I'm downloading the images to an external hard drive. And then, like I said, at 1 o'clock lunchtime, the images and the Lightroom catalog are backed up to an external drive at work. Now, when I go home at the end of the day, I plug in that LaCie mobile drive into my home computer, and every night at 10 o'clock, it's backed up to another external drive at home. So I have a backup at work, a backup at home, and I have the actual data on the mobile drive. So it's in 3 discrete places. So if my mobile hard drive ever crashed, I have the data backed up at home and at work. And that's my actual workflow, and I've been doing this for years. And then after I've downloaded the images to the mobile hard drive, maybe the next day or so, when I want to shoot again, I'm going to remove the compact flash card from the reader, and I'm going to place it back into the camera, and at that point, I will reformat the card in the camera. Okay, so I never work on the images off of the card. I treat them like film, for those of you who know what film is. While they're downloading to the computer, I don't mess with the computer. I just leave everything alone. And like I said, maybe a day or two later, after I'm sure that the backups are on the home and the work computer, then I'll reformat the compact flash card in the camera, and then I'm ready to start the cycle again. Here's what I take on the road with me. I have a MacBook Air, and I bring the LaCie mobile drive with me. So I have all my images with me at all times on the road. And again, the drive was backed up at home and at work. So if it was lost or stolen or fails, I have the images in 2 other places. And the other thing is, since I don't store the images on the hard drive, it lets my computer run really efficiently. I'm not bogging it down with a lot of data. Before we open up Lightroom, what I want you to do is create the master folder on your desktop. Remember, this can be moved later to a different location or a different drive, but for this example, let's do this together and create the folder on your desktop. Before we start with Lightroom, we have to decide where do we want our images to reside. In this example, I'm going to set up a folder on the desktop. I'm on a Mac, and I'm going to call that folder dental folder _master. So here I'm selecting under File, New Folder, and I'm going to call that dental folder _master. And in this folder, which is on the hard drive on my desktop, this folder will contain all the patient folders for everyone that I have images for. So I'm going to double click on this folder, open it up, and I'm going to create a new folder inside here. The keyboard shortcut on a Mac is Command-Shift-N, so that creates a new folder. And I'm going to call that Patient A. And then I'm going to hit Return. Then I'm going to press Command-Shift-N again and call that Patient B. Press Return. Press Command-Shift-N one more time, and we'll call this Patient C. And so what your job is going to be now is to locate where your images are for your existing patients and create this dental folder master, and then give each patient a specific folder. Now, if your images are in Dentrix, you're going to have a hard job to export all those images, or if they're in iPhoto, there's actually software that will allow you to export the images within the folders of iPhoto. However, let's just assume we're starting from scratch, and we just created 3 folders called Patient A, B, and C inside a folder called Dental Folder, and that's our master folder. Now, the other thing we're going to create is one additional folder, and I'm going to name this _first, and I'll show you why in a minute, New Images. And then when you hit Return, you're going to notice the underscore brings that to the top of the list. So an underscore will come before a letter. So that keeps the new images at the top of the list, and you'll see why we're going to do this, or why I did this when we open up Lightroom. So now we've created a folder called Dental Folder. It's our master folder, and inside that are all of our patients. You can name them first name last or last name first. It's up to you. I personally name them first name last. It's easier for me to remember, but you can do it any way you want. So each patient will have a unique folder, and then there'll be an additional folder called New Images at the top of the list. Now that your dental master folder is created, we can launch Lightroom and create a new catalog. In this example, name it Dental XP, and remember that the name can be changed later. And so for this example, we'll go ahead and do that. Now what I'd like you to do is create a new catalog in Lightroom. So under the File menu, we're going to choose New Catalog, and let's name this Dental XP. And you can choose to store this catalog on your hard drive of the machine you're working on, or you can choose to store it on an external drive. I'm going to store this on my external drive, which is right up here. I'm going to click Create, and I'm going to now watch Lightroom is going to open up this catalog called Dental XP. And so here we have a blank slate right here. So now what we need to do is import images into the catalog. So what I've done for this example is I populated the patient folders A, B, and C with images, which would be what you're going to do once you get your images all in one folder. So I took images for patient A, B, and C and placed them into their corresponding folders. And now what we're going to do is import those images into Lightroom. And again, when I say import, we're adding them to the Lightroom catalog. We're not moving them. So they're going to reside in that dental folder master underneath their particular patient names. They're not going to be moved. Lightroom's going to create a catalog, and it's going to know those images are on the hard drive in the master folder, and then we're going to import the data of those images into Lightroom. Let me show you how to do this. What I've done is I've placed patient images inside the particular folders inside the dental folder master. So let me show you this. So if we double click on the dental folder master folder, what I've done is I've gone through my hard drive and I've placed the images for patient A in the patient A folder. And I've placed images for patient B in the patient B folder. And the same thing with patient C. I've placed images in the folders. And so now this folder is on the hard drive here. And again, what we're going to do is import the images into the Lightroom catalog. But the images aren't going to be moved. They're going to reside in this folder where we place them. And again, Lightroom is going to build a catalog or a reference to these particular images. So let me show you how to do that. So let's close this for a moment, and I'm going to move this over here. Now we're going to import the images from the Dental Master folder into the Lightroom catalog. So we're going to click on the Import button here. We're going to choose up here Dental Folder Master, and all the images come up. And then if you see in the middle here, it says we're going to add them to the catalog without moving them. So we're going to click Import, and what it's going to do now is import all the images into the Lightroom catalog. That beep means it's done. And now we can come here, and if you look in the folders over here, in the Dental Master folders, we have 134 images. We have 54 in patient A, 73 images in patient B, and 7 images in patient C. Now that the images are imported into the Lightroom catalog, let's go and see what we can do with them. So I'm going to select patient B over here, and let's say I wanted to put a presentation together for this case. So this is a case of extreme wear, and I made X number of restorations, and let's say I wanted to put this together for a presentation. I have to select the images that I want for my presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the images and pick the images that I like best. So if I double click on an image here, it will come up large. And then I'm going to use the right and left arrow key to go to the next image, like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the images that I like by pressing the P key. So let's say this is the pre-op image. I like this one. I'm going to select the P key, and you can see it. Lightroom said flag as pick. I'm going to go to the next one. Here's lips together. I'm going to press P. I'm going to use that one. Here's another one, lips slightly apart. I'm going to press P again. So I'm picking the images that I want. And if you press the G key, which gives you back what's called the grid view, which looks like small slides, you can see in the upper left-hand corner here, these 3 images are flagged. Now, let's say I picked one by mistake and I really didn't want to pick that. If you press the U key, it will deselect that flag. So here, this one's picked. I'm going to press U, and the flag was removed. Again, if I want to bring it back, I press P, and the flag comes back. So what you can do is go through all your images and decide on the ones that you like the best and flag them. Now, once they're flagged, what you can do is, let me just flag a couple others just for fun. Let me go back here. Let's pick, let's say, this one, and let's flag this one, and let's flag this one. So I have 6 images flagged. Now, if you click on Attribute right here and click on the flag icon, you can see these are the images that I have flagged. And so the other ones are not eliminated, but now you can focus on the ones that you want to view. Now, let's say you like these 3 images and you're not sure which one you'd want to use in your presentation. You can shift click, which means click on the first one, hold the shift key down, click on the third one. You've selected all 3 of those images, and come down here to this icon, and you can see all 3 at the same time. So it's called the survey view. You're allowed to see all your images simultaneously, and you can decide, this one I don't think I like. I can't decide between this one and this one. I'm going to get rid of this one. And that's the one that I like the best. And then again, press the G key. It brings you back to the grid. And there's your images again. And now if you want to see all your images, click on None. So you're taking off the attributes. And you're looking at the images again in the Patients folder. So you can go through your images, select them by pressing the P key. It'll put a flag on the images that you would like to use or view later. And then you can look at your viewed images separately or within the entire folder. A great feature in Lightroom is the ability to keyword your images or apply a name to them so that you can easily find them later. Let me show you how to do this. When keywording images, you'll want to include terms that describe the image concisely, enabling you to organize them for that particular keyword. A nice feature in Lightroom is the ability to import and export keywords. If you want to, you can download my keyword list from the website and see how I organize my images. You can always modify the list in a text edit program and then import them into your Lightroom catalog. Remember, keywords can be modified, changed, or deleted at any time in the future. I've gone ahead and I've flagged additional images. So let me show you again. We're going to go to the attribute name over here, click on that, and then all the images that are flagged come up because this flag is checked. If I deselect that, there's no filter applied and all the images are going to come up. So again, click Attribute and then click on the flag, and then these are all the images that we flagged. Now that the images are flagged, what I like to do is keyword them, and a keyword is a metadata tag that is applied to an image or images and allows you to find them later. So for example, if we look at this image here, let me double click on it. Whoops. Let me double click on it right here. And you can see it's a PVS impression. And let me go back to the grid view. I'll show you something else before we go into the keywording. You can move the images anywhere you want, and so I can reorder them. And if you want to get them back to their chronologic order, come down here and click on capture time. And now it puts them in the order that they were captured. And that's another reason why I don't rename my images. I want each image to have its own unique numerical value, kind of like a checkbook. So I don't have duplicate checks. I don't want duplicate images. And so I don't need to rename them because it's a lot of busy work. And if you ever want to get them in order, all you have to do is come down here and click sort by capture time. And again, if you move one over, you can see this changed now to custom order. So now let's go back. I'm going to put them in capture time. And I'm going to select this image. And if you want to see it larger, you can double click. Or you can come down here where it says thumbnails and you can make all your images bigger. And I'm going to do that now because it'll be easier for you to see on the screen. So I've made the images larger here. And I'm going to select this one and I'm going to hold down the command key and select this one. You can see they're both highlighted. And now I'm going to add a keyword. So for these images, let's call this PVS impression. So right here where it says keyword, I'm going to open up this dialog box, and here I'm going to type in PVS impression. Okay, and then when we click return, they're keyworded. Now if you look here on the images, you can see there's a small tag here that shows that the image has been keyworded. Let's do another one. For example, let's click on this one. And I'm going to call this byte registration. Click return. And now that's keyworded byte registration. Again, let's click on a couple more. Let's do this one, and we'll call this wax up. And you can name them anything that you want. You can have multiple keywords per image. So for example, let's see, let's add another one. Let's go to this one and we'll call this one Emacs. And then press comma. And then let's add the word veneer. So this one has the material and the type of restoration. So it's Emacs and veneer. And if we click on the keyword here, you can see it says Emacs and veneer, the little keyword icon. Now, if you go to the right here on this panel and you open it up, you can see this is your keyword list. And this is the names of all the keywords that you've added. If you want to change one, it's very easy to do. So for example, let's click on the Emacs keyword, and I'm holding down the control key, which is right clicking. And let's rename this, edit keyword tab. And here you can rename it, and let's just call it Emacs ceramic material. And then click save. And now what Lightroom will do, it will change all the images in your catalog that had Emacs, and then it will change it to Emacs ceramic material. So keywording is a great way to find your images later. Let's say you want to find an image. All you need to do is go to your keyword list here. And let's say you want to see all the images that contain the word wax up right here. You can see to the right there's a number 2. It's telling us there are 2 images that are keyworded with the word wax up. If we click here, it will show you both of them, which is great. So if I'm lecturing and someone asks me in the audience, can you show me an example of how you take a portrait of a patient? I have a keyword that says portrait, and all my portrait images come up. Great way to find your images and to keep track of them. So far, we've added images to the Lightroom catalog from a folder on the desktop. Now let's add images to the Lightroom catalog from a compact flash card from images that we have captured throughout the day. I recommend taking out the compact flash card from the camera, placing it into a dedicated card reader, and transferring the images from the card reader to your computer. This is the most efficient way to do this. Now let's download images from a compact flash card. So let's say you're shooting all day long, it's the end of the day, you've taken X number of photos, and now we want to transfer the images from the compact flash card to Lightroom. So we're going to place the card in Lightroom, and then we're going to click the import button, which is right here on the bottom left. So now this comes up and we're going to select the source. The source is the Nikon D200. And I'm going to click that. That's the camera that I'm using and the compact flash card that goes with that. And now in the center here, what we want to do is click on copy, because we want to copy the images to a new location and add them to the Lightroom catalog. Now, on the right side here, we decide where do we want to place the images. Right here, you can see it says Dental Folder Master. And remember, we created a folder at the top of the list, and this is why it's nice. It's at the top of the list, and you don't have to keep scrolling down, because I'm sure all of you have more than 3 patients. And so if you have hundreds of patients or thousands of patients, you would like the new images to be at the top. So that's why we created it there. So we're going to select new images here, and we're going to place all these images into this folder. And so what we do now is click on the bottom here and click import. Okay, and now all the images are imported into the Lightroom catalog, and they're also physically copied from the compact flash card to the hard drive into the Dental Master folder, into the folder New Patients. So, I'm sorry, New Images. Okay, so here's all of our images. Let me make the thumbnails a little smaller, and you can see these are our images. Okay. Now, we're going to sort these images, and we're going to keyword them. And there's some new images up here that need, they're a new patient, and they're going to need a new folder. So let me show you a few things. So number one, here's 3 black images that we don't need. So I'm going to click on the first one here, and then I'm going to shift click here. And if you press the delete key, this dialog box comes up, and I'm going to delete them from the disk. Okay, you can delete them from the Lightroom catalog, but they still would be on the disk. I'd rather not have them take up any space, so I'm going to delete them from the disk. So those are gone. So anytime you have images that are useless, you can get rid of them. Okay, now I personally know who most of my patients are. So for example, I did this little photo shoot, and I'm going to select this image, and I'm going to shift click and select up to here, and immediately I'm going to put in the keyword portrait. Okay, and when I click return, you'll see right here on the bottom that keyword tag, and if you click on that, the word portrait comes up. So it's a great habit to get into, to keyword your images as you're downloading them. Okay, so now I happen to know that this is patient A. Let's just say I couldn't recall what patient this is. Let me click here. So if you look at the top here at the metadata, whoops, right here, it says the image was taken 8/13/13 at 11/22/58. All you have to do is go to your dental schedule and see what patient was in your office at that time, and then you'll figure out which image or who the patient is for that image. Okay, so I happen to know that this is patient A. So I'm going to, again, shift click these, and I'm going to physically click on the middle of the picture and see how it grabs them all. Lightroom will grab all the images, and then I'm going to hover over patient A and let go, and it's going to add all the images to the patient A folder. Okay, so let me show you that. So now if you look in, let me go back to the grid view. Here's patient A. here's the new images, and they're already keyworded. Okay, and so now let's click on new images again. And I happen to know that this is the final case that I just completed, that veneer case. And I know that that happens to be patient B. So I'm going to take his images, and they go from here to here. And I'm going to shift click. And again, I can add a keyword here if I want to. Let's click on this one, veneer, which we've added before. And it's going to add all the keywords here, veneer. And then I'm going to take these images, and again, it's patient B. And I'm going to take them and physically drag them into the B folder and see how it moved them. Okay, I happen to know that this is patient C. So here's, these three are patient C. And again, I might want to keyword these. Let's add a keyword, shade selection. Okay, and click return. Now these are keyworded, and then all of these are going to go into the patient C folder, which is right here. Now, there's 4 images left, and these are new patients. Let me see why this is keyworded. Bleaching. This might have been done in advance, but watch this. Let's take it off. Okay, so now I remove the keyword, and I only did one, so you have to shift click again. And let's take it off. Okay, so now there's no keyword tag. And again, let's say this is a new patient, and I want to keyword them. So I would select them all. Let's say shade selection. I'm going to click this here. And they're all keyworded now with a new tag. Now, what I want to do is add these images to a new patient folder. So if you right click on Dental Folder Master, you can create a folder inside this folder, which is what we want to do. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to call this patient D. And notice how it says here, include selected photos. You want this box checked, because by checking this box, what Lightroom will do, it will create a new folder inside the Dental Folder Master called Patient D, and it will take all these images and place them in the folder, which is great, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So I'm going to click Create, and there you go. And now if you click here on Patient D, all the images were moved into that folder. And that's my workflow. And I do this every day. There's a few other things I do that I'm going to show you in some upcoming movies, but this is the general workflow that I'm doing on a daily basis. Once your images are organized, what you'll most likely want to do is share them. And sharing them can include emailing them, placing them on an iPad, uploading them to social media, etc. Let me show you how I email images, which is something that I do almost on a daily basis with other colleagues or laboratory technicians. Another feature that I use a lot in Lightroom is the ability to email images very easily and quickly. So let's select a bunch of images. Let's just, let's bring up, let's say, this one. Let's choose this one, and let's choose this one. I'm holding down the Option or Command key on a Mac to select multiple images, and let's just pick this one. This is great. All you have to do is hold down Command, Shift, and the M key, and Lightroom will take your images and resize them for email. So these images are JPEGs, but let's say you were shooting in the raw file format and the files are very large. It's difficult or impossible to mail those images because the file sizes are too large. So here, Lightroom takes the images, and right here there's a preset, and it's the choice is, this is a large 800 pixels long by high quality, and you can see if I click on this arrow, you have different choices, but I like large, and there's very small file sizes. Okay, and then I'm not going to, in the to box, put anything here. I'm just going to click send, and what that does is it opens up Apple's Mail. This is great. And then under to, you can have access to your address book. So I'm going to type in, let's say, my email address, SHG, and I come up right here, press tab, and then you can see right here, these are the images that Lightroom resized, and they're large, they're nice. And then if I wanted to email them, I just click send. Oops, I didn't put in a subject, so let's just say images from Lightroom, and then I'll click send. And that's about it. You'll hear the little airplane go in a minute, and it sends the images very quickly. So again, you select the images, Command-Shift-M, and right here, it's telling me on my Mac that I have received images from myself. One of the most important things I want to stress in this video is to back up your images and your Lightroom catalog. If you're not doing this, this is something that you really should start immediately. You absolutely have to have your images in discrete locations so that if something happens to one drive, you have a spare somewhere else. Here we are in the Patient D folder. Let me click on the Dental folder master, and you can see we have 160 images. So this is what we worked on today. So when you exit out of Lightroom by clicking the X in the red button here, this will come up and it says Backup Catalog. And this is in the preferences, you can set how often this dialog box comes up. I have it come up every single time I exit Lightroom. And if you click on the Backup button, it will back up your catalog. Now remember, your catalog is not your images. So here are your images in the Dental folder master. If I click on this and open it up, you can see we have our images in the patient folders. Okay. New images has none because we moved them out of the new image folder into the corresponding patient folders. Okay. So patient D, here's 4 images again. So these are our images. Now, how do you back these up? What I do is I store all my images on my mobile hard drive right here. And so this drive is with me at work and it's with me at home. And what I do is at work, I have this set up. I use Carbon Copy Cloner, and I have that set up on a timer so that every day at lunchtime at work, it backs up the mobile hard drive and it backs up the actual images to an external drive. Remember the slide that I showed you in the beginning of my workflow? That's what I do. And then when I bring the mobile drive home with me, Carbon Copy Cloner also will back up the drive again to another drive, and it's going to be on one of these external drives, and it's going to back up the mobile drive to an external drive, let's say at 10 o'clock at night. And so that's done automatically daily for me. So it's backed up in 2 places, at work and it's backed up at home. And it's pretty simple. Once you set it up, you don't have to do anything except for remember to bring the drive with you and to plug it in. That's about it. And so once I do that, I'm done and I have my images backed up in 2 discrete places. I hope you enjoyed this video. My goal was to show you in detail my digital workflow and to help you get up and running. Download Lightroom, get some sample files together, and just play. The only way to learn the software is to use it. In future videos, I'll go into more depth and show you additional Lightroom tips and tricks. If you want to learn more about digital photography or Lightroom, come visit me in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona for a hands-on course. This is the best way to learn and will also have lots of fun in the desert after the course. I'm also a speaker for Biomet 3i and the Seattle Study Club, offering courses on implant and restorative dentistry as well. I have an in-house dental laboratory technician, and we're deeply involved in digital dentistry and would love to share with you our digital dental workflow too. If you have any questions regarding any of the above information, please send me an email. Thanks a lot.